Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today's puzzle is by one of my most favourite and actually feared compilers, Bastien Vial-Jaime. As well as being one of the world's fastest solvers, and I mean literally one of the handful at the very top of the world, Bastien is also an astonishing constructor. And he used to release puzzles on his blog very regularly, which I'll put a link to under this video. But after a 4-year hiatus, I saw that he's just released a new puzzle, this one that's on the screen. Now, this has actually been recommended to us by two very good solvers so far, and they seem to have solved it from the messages I got from them. But it's also been requested from 2 other people who most certainly have not solved it, and they've struggled mightily. So I'm looking forward to having a go at this. I think it might be tricky. It's a normal killer Sudoku. And actually, I'm very proud to tell you that Bastien is one of those constructors who is appearing in our upcoming Killer Sudoku app, which is imminent. And there are several Bastien puzzles, well, for your enjoyment in there. So you'll have an idea of what to expect after we try this one. Now, a couple of things to mention before we kick off. You may have noticed that in the last few weeks, I've been using new software. So software slightly different from the software that appears in the links under the video. Now, you now have the opportunity, if you'd like to try this new software as well. Let me show you how. If we go to here, when you launch the link under the video, you'll see at the bottom there's this message. Try this puzzle in our new alpha app. Beware pre-release quality. Now, if you click that, you'll get the same puzzle. This is yesterday's puzzle, obviously. Hopefully you'll get yesterday's puzzle. Oops, it's not quite the right size, but let's try and remedy that somehow. So you can see, basically, there you go. So you basically get to try the puzzle in this software instead. Now, just be aware that there may be some glitches with it. We're still working on it. You know, if you find the numbers are too large, or the stuff on that you're entering digits in is too small, that doesn't work on your mobile phone, just use the old link instead. But if you do have any comments about, you find glitches, please do drop us a comment in under the video so that we can keep working on it to perfect it for you. That would be great. Now, a weird story. The vote for the additional puzzles to appear in our Kickstarter book has now been concluded, and if you go over to Kickstarter, you'll find a list of the puzzles that you voted for inclusion in the book. So you may know that basically there were 20 more puzzles that we were going to include because of the stretch goals that we reached. Now, the eagle-eyed will note that on Kickstarter, that list only comprises 19 puzzles. So what's going on? Well, one of the puzzles that secured the most votes was based on a video that I made over a year ago now, called The Best Sudoku of All Time. And if you can ignore my incredible hairstyle in that video, you will find that the puzzle therein is a thing of extraordinary beauty. I think, in fact, I concluded that video by describing the Sudoku as my favourite Sudoku of all time, which gives you an idea of what I thought of it. Although I didn't know it at the time that video was recorded, it was compiled by somebody called Red Ed. Red Ed Russell, actually, to give them their full name. Now, Ed was very active on the Sudoku scene back in the early 2000s. Where he was at the forefront of some of the thinking about Sudoku once it reached the West for the first time. Now, we need to get in contact with Ed because we need to ask his permission to include that puzzle in the book. But Ed's dropped off the radar. We don't know where he is. We've tried a few things to contact him with no success. So if by any chance any of you out there know Ed Russell, or think you might know the Ed Russell who was very into Sudoku a few years ago, then please let us know, or please reach out to him and get him to contact us so that we can try and get that puzzle in the book, because it is an incredible Sudoku. If you've not watched the video, I do recommend it. It leaves me a bit gobsmacked, and I will try and remember to put a link on the screen there. Now, I still want to give shout outs to those of you who are continuing to work away at our Patreon bonus content. the Tracking the Cryptid puzzle hunt, Sudoku puzzle hunt by Stefan Bura and Akash Jain. It's been getting some wonderful feedback, and I know from personal experience that if you've put in the time to finish it, it is a monumental achievement. There is a lot of puzzles there, there's a lot of thinking to do, but it's so satisfying. And I want to say well done to Andreas Meyer, Aaron Colley, John Santiago, Sarah Turvia, I hope I'm saying that correctly. She's known as Pandora on Discord, by the way. David Berardo, I hope I'm saying that properly too. Paul David, Daniel O'Shea, and Chris Renahan. Well done to all of you. Fantastic work. And if you've not tried it yet, do have a look. There's a link under this video to our Patreon page, and honestly, it is worth your time. Right, let's get on to Bastien's puzzle now. This is going to be awesome. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply, and in cages, digits must sum to the small clue given in the top left corner of the cage. You can see there are some large cages in this grid, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. That's all the rules you get. It's normal killer Sudoku today. So, as I've mentioned before, if you want to play the puzzle, click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And we will start with that cage there. A 15 cage in 5 cells. I know that has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I will put that into those cells. Now, 23 cage in 3 cells must be 6, 8, 9. A 4 cell 29 cage is 5, 7, 8, 9. So there are a few little gimmies at the start by the looks of things. Now, look at row 9 of the grid. We've now got 5 cells there that need to be some combination of 5 different digits. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that means the rest of this row cannot include those digits. So the rest of the row must be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now the only combination of those digits that adds up to 7 is 3 and 4. So we actually get, well, we don't get the bottom row, but we get some traction in the bottom row. Now, okay, so the two things I notice next are, well, this enormous cage. That's the largest cage you can get in a killer Sudoku, given the constraint that you cannot repeat a digit in a cage. That is all 9 digits there, adding up to 45. Now this one's interesting though. That is a 7 cell cage adding to 28. So if 9 cells add to 45, 7 cells, we're missing 2 digits that must add up to the difference between 45 and 28. The 2 digits missing must therefore be 8 and 9, which add up to 17. So this cage hasn't got 8 and 9 in it, so 8 and 9 must be in the top cells of box 5, because they can't be in those two. So these two cells are a 6, 7 pair. Now, what else can I see? We've got a 6 cell 37 cage, so that's missing 3 digits that add up to 8. So it's either missing 1, 2, and 5, or 1, 3, and 4. It's definitely not got a 1 in it. I'm not sure I can do anything with that. Just hang on just a moment. I'm just thinking in case there is something I can do with it. I can't see what I meant to do with that. Now, 26 cage up here. Now that's less useful, I think, because that's missing 3 cells that sum up to 19, because 45 minus 26 is 19. But that's... there are a lot of ways of making 19 in 3 cells. So, what on earth are we meant to do? I'm not very surprised I'm stuck already. Now, what am I meant to do? Hang on a second. So maybe we've got to use the grid's geometry. So, what can I see in that regard? The thing is, these cages are not very helpful actually for geometrical tricks. Maybe we can do something outlandish. I'm just wondering whether if we look at all the cells that are in cages, in columns 3 to 7 inclusive, let's just highlight those and have a look at them. So we get this sort of, I don't know, it's like an egg timer that's gone wonky, or like a TIE fighter on its side. But we might be able to do something with this, because if I add up all of the green cells, and I can add up all the green cells because they're all in cages, I can use the fact that I know the sum of 5 complete columns of the Sudoku to isolate the value of these gaps. Now, there are a lot of cells in those gaps, but this is the sort of thing we might have to do. So let's have a look. We've got 10, 31, 31, 36, 76, 91, 99, 119, 126, 155. So the green cells add to 155, and 5 columns of a Sudoku add up to 225, because that's just 5 lots of 45. Which means that the white cells that the cells that are becoming yellow, those yellow cells have to add up to 70, which is a fairly large total. Now, can we see... So the things I'm looking at now, by the way, I'm looking at... Maybe I shouldn't have made those yellow. Let's make them a different colour. I'll make them purple. You know, the maximum value of those squares, for example, well, actually it might not even be 30, because those two can't be 6, 8, and 9. So the maximum value of those two squares is 5 and 7. The maximum value of those two squares is 8 and 9. Is 8 and 9 restricted by the 26? Yeah, actually, that's an interesting point. This makes me think we might be getting somewhere here, because you can't put an 8 and a 9 in a 26 cage, because if you do, in a 26 cage of size 6, because if you do, how do you make the 3 missing digits from this cage add up to 19? Well, the only digits you'd have at your disposal would be 7, 6, and 5, which only add to 18, which is a very suspicious number. So that suggests you can't put 8 and 9 in here. So the best you can do here is 9 and 6. So that's... Now, what's that? 27, is it? So the best you can do in this column is 27. Now, the best you can do in these 4 cells... You see, what I'm doing, by the way, I hope it's obvious, is I'm trying to use cells that are restricted by the fact that they're in the same column, so they can't repeat. Now, actually, that's a bit annoying. I can actually make those 6, 7, 8, and 9, can't I? Because that won't break this square. So they can be 6, 7, 8, and 9, I think, which is 30. So 30 and 27 is 57. So these have to add up in that iteration to 13, which is very easy to do. Okay, I think this is totally not going to work. Unless I've missed something. Is there a reason? Oh, this is in the... No, bobbins, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. It's not going anywhere. We need to get rid of this. Sorry. Yeah, that's... I don't think we can do anything with that. I might... No, come back. How do I make that come back again? Oh, I don't know how to do that. I'll just have to fill it in again, I think. I think I can do that quite quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was 6, 7, wasn't it? This was 6, 7. I don't know what I pressed then, but I shouldn't have pressed it. These squares are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 because they can't include 8 and 9. These squares were 5, 7, 8, and 9. These squares were 3 and 4. Okay, there we go. We're back where we were. Now, I need to get rid of the green, so let me just do that. There we go. I should have pressed that button, not that button. I think that's what I did wrong. Now, so our sort of wonky TIE fighter didn't work. So I've got another idea. Maybe we can do Fistomophel tricks. Can we do Fistomophel tricks here? Because this funny region in the middle, this football region, I know the value of the football region. It's 60. It's 88, isn't it? So this football region adds up to 88. Now those cells on the corner of the football, let me just highlight the football first. These cells make up the... Yeah, okay. So what I'm wondering is, in the Fistomephel ring, we know that these cells here, the green cells, are identical to these 16 cells in the corners. So I should be able to work out the value of the Fistomephel ring, because it's just going to be, was it 88? Wasn't that 88 minus 45, isn't it? It should be, I think, which is 43. So the Fistomephel ring is 43. So these oh no, it's not 43. It's 43 plus the corners, which I don't know. Okay, it's 43 plus the corners, which I don't know, has to equal these cells. Now what have we got there? We've got 44, which is very close to 43, a knowledge bomb from cracking the cryptic, which means that whatever we put in the four corners here has to basically equal what we put in all of those cells, which are quite a lot of cells, but these could be low. Ah, I don't think this is right either. Because it's pretty possible, isn't it? These could all be very high. I mean, they could be... This is the only one that's in any way restricted. So if this was 7, what would be the maximum I could put in the others? I could put 9s here and an 8 here, which would be 33. So what we're saying there is it possible to keep those squares down to a value of around 33? And it's easily possible. Bother, it's easily possible. Right, that's not working either. Sorry about this. This is a disaster today. So what am I meant to do? I've got to... No, there's no way I can do stuff with just row 1 and row 2. There are just too many gaps. So is there something more I can do with the... Well, if I knew this wasn't 8 and 9, I would know there would be 8s and 9s up here. Oh, there's a very obvious point, actually. You can't have 8 and 9 in those 3 cells, because if you do, if 2 of these 3 cells are 8 and 9, you'd have to put 8 and 9 in this cell, which would make it a Schrödinger cell and impossible. It can't be 2 things at the same time. So this, you can't have 8 and 9 as a pair in this triple, so there must be an 8 and a 9 up here. That gives you an 8-9 pair there, so this can't be 8 or 9. Ah, so maybe I should have just done more Sudoku. Here's another idea, actually. Here's a clever idea. This square also can't be 8 or 9, because if it is, it will join up with, well, if this is an 8 or 9, this square will be an 8 or 9, and one of those 3 squares would need to be 8 or 9, which is impossible. So this is also not 8 and 9, which gives us a 5-7 pair, gives us an 8-9 pair here. So we've got an 8-9 pair now in column 4, and we've got a 6-8-9 triple in row 9. And we do have a situation now where we've got loads of things going on. This is a 6-8-9 triple. Because where does 6 go? In this box, it's got to go in one of those 2 squares. Just look at the options for what we've put into the other squares. None of them include a 6. That means the 6 goes here. It means this is not a 6. Now I've got an 8-9 pair here. But the essential point is, if we look at these 5 highlighted squares now, these definitely include 8s and 9s. So there can't be more 8s and 9s in row 8 or row 9 of the grid. You can't have any more 8s and 9s here. So there must be an 8 and a 9 up here, and there must be a 6. So this is 6, 8, 9. Right, so I definitely feel like this is at least going somewhere now. So 6, 8, 9 here. Why did I say that? Why did I say that, ladies and gentlemen? You tell me. It's because I am a moron. I should never say things are going somewhere before they've actually gone somewhere, because it makes me look like a prize buffoon when immediately I can't do anything with 7's got to be over here. It's just not useful. 6, 8, 9 here. Now hang on. Right, I've had another sensible thought. The 45 cage has an 8 and a 9 in it. So those 2 squares can't be 8 and 9. So where do we put 8 and 9 in column 7? Well, we can't put them in those squares because the 8 and the 9 is already in those cells there. And they can't go in those cells either. So there's an 8 and a 9 in 2 of these 3 cells. Can't see what that one was. That was the 26. Aha! Right, this is useful. I'm actually going to delete that, and let's think about whether we know that 2 of these 3 squares are 8 and 9. Is it possible it's these 2? Well, no, we've already looked at this. If this is an 8-9 pair, then you can't make the cells that are missing from this cage add up to 19. Or another way of looking at that is if those 2 would add up to 17, that we can't make those 4 squares add up to 9. So this is not an 8-9 pair. Now if it's not an 8-9 pair, this square must be an 8 or a 9. And one of these squares is an 8 or a 9, but not both. So if this is an 8 or a 9, this is just classic Bastien. Bastien is one of those constructors that when you solve his puzzles, they just make me feel stupid. I mean, the cleverness just radiates from the puzzle and is sickening. Because look, this 8-9 now, whatever this is, where does it go in box 2? It can't go in this 45 cage that's sort of doing the rounds here, because that's already got an 8 and a 9 in it. It can't repeat in this cage, and it can't go there, because it'll be in the same row. So whatever this is must appear in one of those 2 cells, and therefore is not in the 21 cage. So whatever is in here and is not in here. So what does that mean? So that means that, so if this is a 9, there would be a 9 here in one of those 2 cells. In fact, there's an 8-9 pair here, so it doesn't go there. So whatever's in here actually just goes there. That is an 8 or a 9, and it's the same as this. I'm going to colour those actually, just to keep track of the fact they're the same. So these are the same. If this was a 9, you couldn't put 9 in here, so this would have to be 6, 7 and 8. Let's put that in. If this is an 8, you can't put 8 in here, so you need a 9. And you can't have an 8 in here, so it would have to be 5, 7, 9. So this is either 5, 7, 9 or 6, 7, 8. So it's definitely, it's always got a 7 in it. That is what we can say for certain. There is always a 7 in here. and there is either an 8 or a 9, but not both. Hang on a minute, let me just think about this. This must be doing something, I think, more profound. I've just got to work out what it is. So whichever one this is not. So what I'm wondering is, can I somehow tie the fact that 2 of these 3 squares have to be 8 and a 9 to the fact that there has to be an 8 and a 9 in one of those cells. And you can't put 8, 9 here. Right, here's something. Here's a small piece of logic. If these 2 squares are an 8, 9 pair, then whatever is in here, we know it's either 8 or 9 in these squares, would match up with this and would have to appear in one of those 2 squares in box 4. Let's just do this slowly, in fact, just to make it very clear. Let's imagine this is an 8, 9 pair, and let's imagine this is, I don't know, 6, 7 and 8. Now you can see now we've still got to place an 8 in column 3. Where would it go? It can't go here because this is a 6 now under this hypothesis. So the only place it could go is one of those 2 squares, where it can't go because there's already an 8 in this box already. So actually what we can say, let's go back, is that it's not possible for this domino to be an 8, 9 pair, which means this square cannot be a 6. The 6 has to interrupt the ability of this domino to be an 8, 9 pair. So this is an 8 or a 9, which means this puzzle is it's staggeringly clever. It's staggeringly clever because now where does this digit go in this box? It can't repeat, whatever this is, can't repeat in the cage. It can't go there because of the 8, 9 pair in there, and it can't go there. So this, whatever this is the same as that one. Now does that mean it has to go in? Doesn't, I don't think, mean it has to go in there. It could still go here. But now that one. Now this one can't be 8 or 9. If that's 8 or 9, it's got nowhere to go in box 4, has it? Let's just try. If that's an 8, we know this will be a 9 now. Where do we put 8 in this box? It can't go there because of the 8, 9 pair. It can't go in those squares because of the 8, 9 pair ruling it out of both of these. That one's never had the ability to 8, 9. It can't repeat in the cage. There would be nowhere for it to go. So this is not an 8 or a 9. So it is a 6, which means that's an 8 or a 9. Is that our first digit? I've got a digit. Well done, me. That's a digit in the grid. It's not actually a digit that's doing me any favours, but it is a digit, and I will take that. Now, hang on. So now those 2 are the same. So we can still ask the question, where does this one? Oh, this is gorgeous. This is all going to resolve. Well, not resolve, but I think I can connect this to the parity up here, because whatever this is, it's still got to make an appearance in box 4. So where can it go? It can't go there. It couldn't go there. It couldn't go here because of the 8, 9 pair. It can't go there. It's not this one because that's the same as that one. So the only place this one goes is here. So this is an 8, 9. This 8, 9 now is not in there. And this 8, 9 is not in there. So this is red. This, I'll make it blue, is in here. So this can't be 8, 9 anymore. We know one of these 2 squares is blue. We know this square precisely is read by Sudoku. Oh my goodness. And we know, do we know the colour of those? Or the colour of this? Don't know. Now, what do we do next? I don't know what we do next. I have to work it out. I've got to think harder. So how do we get more progress done? So I've got an 8-9 pair here. So whatever one of these is blue. So blue is in one of those squares. One of these is red. So red is in one of these squares. And we know that there's an 8-9. Okay. I forgot that. Yeah, so one of those two squares is blue. Is that right? I think it is right. I think one of those two squares has to be blue because there must be an 8 and there must be an 8 and a 9, or we know that's an 8 or a 9. We know one of these is an 8 or a 9. So now, what can we do next then? I'm sorry about this. I know that I'm probably being a bit slow for some people, but I'm confused now. So now I've got to... this is nice. So there's an 8-9 pair here. So 8-9 is not in those squares. 8-9 can't be in these squares. These are in the 45 that already has its 8 and a 9 in it. So there is a blue in here. So this square can't be blue, because then I'd have too many blues in row 1 and 2. I'd have 3. I'd have 1, 2, 3. So this is not blue. Let's get rid of the colour and not delete the whole grid. I'd struggle mightily to reinvent my pencil marks from here. Now, that means I get a blue there. I now know the 8-9 pair. And what do we do next? So actually, let's think about this harder, because now, if I know that there is an 8 and a 9 in the 21 cage, the other two cells must be 1 and 3 to get me up to 21, because it's 17 plus 4. So actually I know the value of these squares. That's all right. Let's do that. 1, 3, 8, 9. So this is a 1, 3, 8, 9 quadruple in the box. Have we got anything good going on now? So close to having like triples and quadruples and things down this column, and down this column for that matter. We've got an 8. Oh, we've got an 8-9 pair there. I didn't spot that one. Oh, good grief. That's important because that's red. So that's blue. And that's red. Now this one's blue. Now that's not blue, so we can get rid of it. So this becomes blue. And one of these two is red. Aha! I can't repeat. I can't put this 26 cage. I looked at this up here about whether this could be an 8-9 pair, but the same is true of those two squares. You can't put 8 and 9 in the 26 because the other 4 squares can't add up to 9. So that is not 8 or 9. This is another 8-9 pair in column 8, And that means that square is a 6. And that means that square is red. And I've almost coloured the grid now. That one here, this one is an 8-9 pair, so that's got to be a 1 or a 3. And most certainly cannot be 8 or 9 anymore. So we should get rid of the colour. Wow. Wow. What a puzzle. It's taken me 35 minutes to get 2 digits and a lot of red and blue. What on earth do I do next? Ah, I've got something. Look. Those are the digits 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So these two have got to be a 6-7 pair. That is not enough, I don't think. Now, this 10 cage cannot contain 8 or 9, because if it does, that will be the third of that digit in row 1 and row 2, which is impossible. So this is either 4, 6. Now let me just stare at this for a second. If it's 4, 6, I can't see anything restricting that. Or it's 3, 7. Now if it's 3, 7, we know one of those is a 3, so that would have to be 3. That would have to be 7. Oh, nearly a triple in this column. So, okay. 2 here. 2, I've not placed 2 in row 1 yet. None of those are options as 2, so 2 must be in one of those cells. There's an interesting thought. A 26 cage must have a 2 in it, because we know that the digits that are missing are not 2, 8 and 9. So as there's definitely a 2 in the 26 cage, and then we've got 2 here, you can't put 2 in those squares, so 2 has to go here. Now where does 2 go? Actually, that gets rid of 2 from there as well. But where does 2 go in column 7 of the grid? It's got to go in one of those 2 squares. Now that is not enough. That doesn't prove anything. What's the 37 cage? That needs to be missing cells that add up to 8. So it's definitely not got a 1 in it. And it's either missing 3 and 4, or it's missing 2 and 5. If it's got 2 and 5 in it, the 2 would have to go up here because of this 1-2 pair. And that cell would have to be a 2. Which would mean there would be a 2 in here. But that could work with the 2 up there, look. Wow, okay. I'm struggling here. This row we've got a 6-7 pair and an 8-9 pair, so that these peripheral digits have got to be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now we know there's no 1 in the 37 cage. We don't know whether we can do any more eliminations. This one hasn't got a 2 in it, so that's not a 2. Here's something. Here's something lovely. This 6, where does it go in box 6? Well, it's got two choices basically. It's either in that domino or that domino. If it goes in that domino, you can't put a 6 in box 3 because this is in the same cage as that square. So if you put a 6 there, you get a clash. So you don't. You must put a 6 here. And that means 6 must be in one of those 3 squares in box 3. Oh, no, better than that. This 6 here is seeing that square because it's coming to it via the 45 cage. So the fact there's a 6 in this domino means that square must be a 7. That means that square's a 6 now. Get rid of the pencil mark here. So this 7, is that really powerful? It's telling me that there must be a 7 in one of these 3 squares in box 6 of the grid. It's telling me there must be a 7 in one of those 3 cells. Oh, that's nearly useful. It's nearly useful. So that's aligning, look, with the 7s in box 1. So there must be a 7 in one of these 2 positions. In fact, in the 37 cage, there must be a 7, which means one of those 2 squares is a 7. Now, if one of those 2 squares is a 7, there are things that would follow from that, like this square could never be a 7, but we never thought it could be. You can't put a 7 here, but we never thought we could do. So that doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything, sorry. We're going to have to think more, think harder, be more cleverer. We've got to be more cleverer. How are we going to be more cleverer? The 26 cage now does have a 7 in it. Ah, but it doesn't have a 6 in it. Oh. Is that enough? It doesn't have a 6 in it. Oh, my microphone's slipping. Hang on, let me just move that. I don't want that to fall off. That will make a heck of a racket. Doesn't have a 6 in it. The cells that are missing add up to 19. So it's missing cells. If it doesn't have a 6, it's missing 2 other cells. So it's either missing 4 and 9 or 5 and 8. So I need to know what this one is before I know the composition of this cage. I don't think we know enough about 4s and 5s to know anything about the puzzle. Bobbins, this is really difficult. So, where else can we look? We've got... Can we do something with the 10 cage? If this 10 cage, if it includes a 7, that would have to be a 7. Oh, no, it can't have a 7 in it now because of this 7. Ah, sorry. This has been available for a few minutes. So this is a 4-6 pair. That means that's not a 6. So is that useful? That feels like it might be useful, but I'm not sure how. 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. That's not 6 anymore, look. Ah, that's, goodness me, that's tricky. Where does 6 go in this box? It can't go here because it shares a cage. It can't go there because of the 6 pencil marks. And it can't go there because it's in the same column. 6 goes here. Oh, that's actually important for this cage, I see. That's not got a... Ah, this doesn't have a 6 in it. If that doesn't have a 6 in it, it can't be 6, 7, 8. That feels huge. That means it's not got an 8 in it. This is 5, 7, 9, which means red Red is 8. Red is 8. We are off and running. Oh, no. Oopsie. Red is 8. Not every colour. I just want to do... Alright, okay. Red is 8. Now, that one, I only want to... I don't want those ones. I just want... Alright, let's do it slowly. Those ones are 9. 9. So now, all of a sudden, I feel hopeful again. We've got no 8 in those two squares because of Sudoku. So now this square here must be red. That's got to be 8. That's got to be 9, therefore. Let's colour them in so that we have consistency. And so what do I get from this? I've now got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. That's too many digits. I know one of these is a 9. I still don't know where the 7 goes. 6 now is more locked. 6 has got to be in that square. Okay, so that's good. We did get another digit. 6 in row 3 of the grid can't go in those two squares. It can't go in those two squares because there's already a 6 in the 45 cage. It can't go here, so that is a naked or a hidden single. We'll take anything we can get. Oh, and now the 26 cage does have a 9 in it. So it's missing an 8, and it's missing a 6, and it must be missing a 5 as well in order to add up. The 3 cells missing have got to add up to 19. So we know the composition of these squares. These squares are everything apart from, so these squares are 1, 2, 3, 4, they are not 5, 6, they are 7, so 7 is a possibility, and they are not, well, they are 9, but we know where that goes. Now these two can't be 2 or 7, because we know that 2 and 7 are in this box here. So, right, so that's, well, that felt important, but it's not really done anything, has it? Good grief. I can feel Bastien chuckling as he watches this. Right. Take stock. What do we know? What do we not? We don't know a lot. That is true. I know we don't know a lot. There are a lot of things I don't know about this in this puzzle. So, can I do anything with 7s? That would be a useful digit to know about. Or can I do anything with... Good grief, I don't know. Don't know how to do this at all. I'm not even sure what the correct digit is that I need to be focusing on. Four, 5, 7 there. This being 5, 7, 9, is that helpful? 6 must be in one of those two squares, that's true. Do we know anything about... 6 must be in one of those two squares, so there's a funny little sort of X-wing on 6s, which are the last two 6s that we've got to place in the grid. But that doesn't seem helpful. We know one of these is a 9. I don't know. We know we've got one. Actually, maybe it's the 1s and the 3s. I haven't really focused on those yet. 3 and 9. I have to say, I don't really... Can I lock 6 into this column? Actually, that would be a sensible thought. Because I've not put 6 in this column. That is a sensible thought. It can't go here. And it can't go there. Yes, that's a 6. This is a 7. That fixes the 5 and the 7 down here. That's got to be a 7. We know that the 37 cage needs a 7. That's not 7. We know that that cage has a 7. Right, okay, here we go. So now we get a 5-9 pair. This is not 5 anymore. 7 has got to be an exact... that's nice. 7's got to be in one of these two squares where it aligns in terms of column 8 and 9 with where it has to be in box 6. So where does 7 go now in this column? It can only go here. And look, when I get that, I get the 2 as well, which is presumably helpful. So 2 has got to be up there. Oh no, it's not helpful. This square's got to be 1, 3, 4 or 5. So these 3 squares now are a 3, 4, 5 triple. So those 2 squares have got to be, they've got to be 7 and 1. We can do that. 7 and 1. That's not 1 anymore. That's not 1 anymore. So 1, if we look at where 1 now is pushed in box 3, I don't know where it goes, but I know it's definitely in one of those 3 positions. And 1 in this box is also in row 1 and row 2, which means 1 in box 1 has to be in one of those 2 positions where it aligns with box 7. This is extraordinary, which means that the 1 in this box must be in one of those 3 positions, and there our trail runs cold. That was nearly clever. So these are 3, 4 and 5. That's interesting. Spotted something. Look, if this is 3, 4, 5, the 1 and the 2 in this row are definitely in these 3 squares, which means these 2 squares cannot be 1 or 2. So we can get rid of 1, we can get rid of 2 from this one. This is not 1 for sure. Go away 1. So we've almost got various doubles and triples along here, but none of them actually work. But the 1 is now locked into the 45 cage in this box, so 1 is not here anymore. This is incredible. So now where does 1 go? So now 1 has to be on the right hand side of box 6, so it's not in those 2 squares, which means this square is a 1, which means it still doesn't crack. It still doesn't crack. I don't believe it. That was a really useful deduction. But now this 1 backfires through the 26 cage into those 2 squares, forces this to be a 1, knocks a 1 out of that square. Can you imagine trying to design this puzzle? Can you imagine the brain it takes? It's humbling. It's jaw-dropping, humbling, and annoying. Now, 5. 37 cage. What do we need in there? We needed the missing cells to add to 8, didn't we? So these 2 squares Ah, yeah, these are either 2 and 5 or 3 and 4. Can we tell which? If it was 3 and 4, that would seriously limit that square. Because if this was a 3-4 pair, that would force that to be a 5, which it can't be because there's a 5 in this column. Woohoo! Look at this. These two squares cannot be a 3-4 pair. Because they can't be, because they're in the same cage, they'd be different. So they'd be a 3 and a 4 in some order. And they both see that square by Sudoku. So this square would be left with no option. So this is not 3-4, which means it is 2-5. And you can see we can actually just place them. That's exciting. Now. Oh, no, it's not actually broken everything open, has it? But it's... Has it not? Those can't be 5. 2, 3, 4. This must be more. This must be better than I've managed with this. This 2, yeah, that 2 gives me the 2 and the 1. That fixes the 1 up here. This square's got to be 3 or 4. That gives me a nice pair in row 3. So those two squares have got to be 2 and 5 now to complete the row. And both of these squares, look, I think this must be important, are in the 45 cage, which means that can't be a 5, which gives me a 3-4 pair here, so that's got to be a 5. This is just, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous what's going on in this puzzle. Now these squares have got to be 1, 3 and 4 because they're the only digits I've not placed in the 45 cage now. Now if these are 1, 3 and 4, that square is a 5. Which means that's not a 5. That's not a 5 because of the 5 here. That's not a 5 because of this 5. So 5 is now, in fact that being a 5 gives me a 5, 2 up here, which places a 5 in the middle of the grid. Let's get rid of the 2 from these two cells. Get rid of the 5 from this cell. Slowly, slowly we inch. And it very much does feel like we are inching towards a solution. Now in this box, this square's got to be a 4 or a 6 to complete the pencil marking. So that's not 4 and that's not 4. I know this is a very long video, but I actually do think this is a very, very difficult puzzle. I'm going to be interested to see the comments on this one if I do get through it. And whether I've made a meal of it or whether actually it is a very difficult puzzle. That's got to be a 3 or that's got to be a 3 or a 4. Look at this column. Yep. That gives me a 3-4 pair here, which fixes the 6 here. That fixes all of those squares. This is not... What's that going to be then? A 2, I think. I suspect I could have done that in a different way, probably 20 minutes ago. But it's very easy to focus on the wrong things in these puzzles. Come on, Simon. I'm not sure. I feel like there's a few places I might be able to... Got so many 3-4s around it. Look at all... Well, if I try and... No, I was wondering whether it would just highlight the cells with 3s and 4s in them. But it wants to do 3s, 4s and 5s as well. But there are an awful lot that are just 3 and 4. Let's look at those. All of those are 3s and 4s. And in fact, that's quite interesting. There's something. Oh, it's not very important, but I'll mention it. Oh, it is. No, it gets me a digit. I'll take a digit. Look, this square, if whatever there is, 3 or 4, can't repeat in those squares because they're part of the same cage. So whatever this one is the same as this one. And then by Sudoku, that's the same as that. So this square can't be a 5. So it's a 3 or a 4. And now look, that square must be a 5, which is rather pretty. That plonks 5 at the top. I'm going to look at these again, actually. 3s and 4s look like they might... So... What does that mean? Yeah, there's something. Let me highlight these squares, actually. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. Look at this square. I think the key is that the way this communicates through the 45 gauge. If this is a 4, let's do it longhand. If this is a 4, these two squares can't be 4 now. So you have to put a 4 there. Now where do you put a 4 in the middle box? You've got to put it here, but that forces that to be, you've guessed it, a 4. So that doesn't work. So 3s and 4s are really interesting at this point. That is not 4 for certain. That's a 3, which removes 3 from those. This is a 3. That gives us a 4 here. Now this square can't be 3 or 4. That can't be 4. This 3, 4 here is resolving the bottom of the grid like this. That gives us that one. Get rid of 3 from all of these cells. This is 2, 4, 7, so that becomes a 3, of course. We've already looked at this. Probably should get rid of the highlighting of these cells now. So I don't think we're going to need it, hopefully. Now, what next? So this 3, that's going to be useful. We've got to go 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 9, 1, 9, 5. Keep going. Please don't have made a mistake. I mean, this puzzle deserves to be seen. It deserves to be widely admired because it is literally the work of a genius. Now, come on, Simon. 2, 5 at the top. Yeah, those two, the 5 has to go here. That's got to be a 2. That fixes the 2 and the 7. That's a 7. And if I haven't made a boo-boo, I can put 4 in there. Yes, I did it. What a puzzle. That's one of the most brutal and brilliant killer Sudokus you will ever see. Now, I hasten to add, if you are worrying that the killer Sudoku app is full of puzzles of this difficulty, it isn't. There's a whole range of difficulties. There's some very easy puzzles. They're all elegant, of course. We've never published anything that we weren't proud of and didn't meet that criteria. There are some absolute beasts in the app as well that are every bit as difficult as this, but not too many. My goodness, though, what a puzzle. What a puzzle that is. I hope you enjoyed watching me solve it. I'm so sorry it took me a long time. I don't know. I can sense that there were things I could have done more quickly, but there was quite a lot to keep track of. It was absolutely brilliant, though. And let me know in the comments how you got on, if you beat my time, how much you beat my time by, how much I should hang my head in shame. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.